Okay, well, Mario, first of all, thank you very much indeed for coming. We're talking about systems analysis and systems evolution. Now, I understand systems analysis is the thinking person's solution. So others look at health and feed and breeding and staff and milk production economics, and you do all of that. Is that correct?
Well, Brian, I would say that it's the integrated solution. It's really putting some of those things, depending on the nature of the project, into context.
Okay. Now, when did you first get into this? I mean, how did you manage to be persuaded to leave the delightful sunny climes of Costa Rica to go to Edinburgh?
How was I persuaded? Well, I just went to study.
Okay.
I loved Edinburgh, and I started working with Barry Dent, who led a systems analysis group.
Yes, in fact I remember meeting, you know where he went next, as we sort of get into anecdote. He went to the Royal Agricultural College, which is very...
That's not where I am. I'm not going to end up there, don't worry.
Oh, well, maybe not. It's a very emotional thing for me, because my father was sent down from our farm in Norfolk to go and learn the theory of how to farm on what is now known as the gin and tonic course. Anyway.
Well, perhaps I joined the Royal Agricultural College.
Long way away. So some of your earlier work was looking at application of this system stuff to dairy management scenarios in Costa Rica. Is that correct? And I noticed in one of your earlier papers you even acknowledge that farmers have got other objectives in life than farming, and you're looking at trade-offs. How deeply can you go into that? I mean, presumably these are very data hungry, these types of modelling exercises, aren't they?
Well, some of the models are data hungry, but you also need to try to bring in other types of disciplines from the social sciences. We've tried to do that in the past with relatively limited success, but I think that now we're starting to use the outcomes of the models in a more social way, using participatory processes and so on. So it's not really the data hungriness of the models per se, but it's really putting into the social context what the model tells us.
But the whole point is that you're using them to ask the what-if questions. Is that correct? And so what if you change this? What if you improve that? What if situations outside vary? You don't look as if that's going to be a yes, so tell me what it is.
No, yes. It's really what ifs, but it's usually related to technological change, or some of the times to things that we can really measure, as you pointed out.
Now, if these things are so great and they do bring everything together, why aren't we all using them? I mean, why is it just you down there in Lab 8 that is involved in this?
Well, I disagree completely with you on that one. I think that we all are using them. Yes. By default, the concept of systems analysis is basically standard now within ILRI, and I think that we're one of the best themes that have integrated with the other themes to provide solutions to some of their problems using these kinds of approaches.
Okay, but there are still many people in the Institute who are not thinking in that sort of integrated way. They're still thinking in little bits and pieces of the puzzle. Is that so? And how can you... Yes, and how can you change that? Are you trying to influence that?
Well, to a certain extent, but I don't think it's only us. I think that the Institute is making people change and to look at things in a more integrated way. That's why we have themes. That themes contribute to specific problems that are usually systems problems. I think that that's a well-known concept nowadays.
Okay, now of your various bits of work, which I've got piles of them, you did a very nice piece of work in Bolivia looking at farm characterization and the implications of different groupings in terms of technology delivery and extension. Did that work?
Partially, I would say.
Why?
Well, because we use all these cluster methodologies. If we go down the statistics route, doing clustering, some of these clusters really don't represent the livelihood groups that you observe in real practice. So nowadays we tend to use other approaches. Okay. And obviously we use that kind of clustering technique and then present it to a range of people who know about the systems and then modify them accordingly. Okay. Yeah, but that was for a paper, so that's fine.
Oh yes. And then came the Thornton Herrero paper on crop livestock simulation models for scenario analysis. Presumably this is a classic on everybody's shelves, is it?
Well, if you say it.
No, I'm asking you, is it what are the looks?
It's been quite
standing back. Where are the faults in it? How would you rewrite it if you were doing it today?
What I would say about that paper is that it's a wish list. I think that all this area of modeling and simulation, it's still in its early days. There are a lot of people who are already like institutionalizing the concept of using modeling approaches in their work, and you see it a lot in their papers. But think about statistics 50 years ago. Well, now it's going to become a standard as statistics using a model.
Okay. Now, if I could, thinking of all those here at ILRI, I think I can genuinely say that you're the only one to have produced impact. And here it is. And that was and that was a very clever way of doing it, I might say, because no one's going to be saying, "God, he never has impact." Tell me, who is this targeted at?
Well, that is targeted to a range of projects. Let me tell you the story about impact.
Because not the whole story.
No, not the whole story. Yeah. But impact really started as a database tool. With some very simple diagnostics tool, and the idea was really to collect information in a standard way for a range of systems around the world, and then put that information as a resource on the web so that other people could access it to do their analysis. As you can see, it covers from food security to economics to crops to livestock. It's quite integrated in that sense. It's data hungry, we know. But the whole point was to try to avoid the syndrome of visiting farmers 15 times simply to ask different questions. Like here in Kiambu, you know that farmers have logbooks of the people that come to visit them. It's really to try to avoid that kind of thing.
Now, moving on slightly, systems evolution. Systems evolution is thought here to be very sexy. We hear talking about, but the answer lies in systems evolution, we always hear. But my feeling is, and you can tell me that I'm wrong, is so many of those particular populations that we're targeting our work at are systems that aren't evolving at all. In fact, that's the problem. They're exactly the same as they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Is that so?
I completely agree. Well, that's what we call the cold spots.
Cold spots.
Not everything. We don't need to identify a hot spot all the time. Cold spots are also valid, and perhaps there's a whole development agenda for places that are not going to evolve as rapidly. The key here is to see, well, how many poor do we have in these systems? Can ILRI do something about them? And can we link to the right partners in these regions? But we recognize we're not always trying to find just the hot, sexy bits.
Okay.
Huh?
Oh, I don't believe you, but nor about the science either. Okay. Do we really know now, the next question, enough about the role of livestock as a poverty reduction mechanism in different places and contexts? I mean, much of your work centres on that.
Well, I think that we've taken a very valiant step, and I think that's probably more directed to Patty than to me. But I think that we have the building blocks there to start doing it. I know it's incomplete at the moment. I know that we've concentrated a lot of effort on the spatial targeting, but I think that this work is coming along and the approaches are getting far more used in other places. So when we build a good bunch of this data in different systems around the world, we'll have a better story to tell.
This research, some of the benefits from all this systems analysis and scenario setting and everything is very long term, and I believe. And given the longevity of it, can it really be justified in ILRI's research program, or should we rather be doing some of the things that have been the outputs of your scenario modelling, rather than doing yet more modelling for the future?
Well, we need to do the modelling for the future. We need to anticipate. We need to be more prepared, and we need to be able to guide some of the research agenda on livestock and agricultural development for the future.
But how many people pick up the actual scenario analysis outputs in other parts of ILRI or elsewhere and move with them?
Well, look at a clear example: the livestock revolution. Well, it's influenced what you and I do completely, what this institute does, and what the donors do. this is the kind of prospective analysis, looking into the future of really what may happen and how can the poor contribute to poverty alleviation in our case.
Now I am a poor person. I am a poor pastoralist in northern Kenya, and the no, I just went to the Matumba as well. And my cattle are now dying of drought, and luckily we've just got a cell phone network up there, and cell phones are quite plentiful. So I put a call through to ILRI, and David Kimwaki puts the phone through to Lucy Kirori down in Lab 8, and she connects to you. With all your household models and your spatial data sets and your pretty GIS maps, what do you say to him?
Call John McDermott.
I really think that's an excellent answer. Mario, well done. Thanks a lot.